So we have the default role here. I could leave it like that, certainly, but I'm just going to go ahead and create a new role, and I'm just going to give this a descriptive name of 0 IT users. And I'll just say under the description, role for 0 IT users. I don't really have to provide any group attributes because there's not any AAA server or anything like this it's going to be matched against. And in this particular case, I'm going to say that when these users authenticate, the only wireless LAN I want them to have access to is this one, wireless LAN-0IT. That's the only one I want them to be able to get into. And that's all I need to do here. So my role is now configured. I'll click OK. And now I need to assign some users, some username and passwords to that particular role. So I will go to Configure Users. And let's just go ahead and create one. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, so I'm going to configure a username and password. My username, I'll just make it 0IT user. Full name, I don't have to configure a full name, but I'll just configure it here so you can see. And the password is going to be exactly the same thing, 0IT user. And be careful of your case. It is case sensitive. Confirm the password, 0IT. Oop, I got my case wrong, so I got to redo that. IT user. And I will assign them to the role I just created of 0 IT users. Now I have a choice at this point. Let's say that in your particular network you had 75 people that were going to be connecting to this particular wireless LAN and using the 0 IT feature to download that prov.exe file. Well, here's your choice. When they first connect to the activate GUI of the zone director, you could have them, when they type in their username and password, you could have them type in all exactly the same username and password. And so in this particular case, I've got one username and password I just configured. I could give that to everybody. I could say to all of my employees, this is the username and password you will type in. Of course, that makes things very easy and simple from my perspective. Or the alternative is, I could configure in my local database here 75 unique usernames and passwords. If I wanted each individual employee to have a separate, unique username and password, I could do that too. And maybe I want to do that to help track and identify which employee is logged in at a particular time. Because if they're all logging in as 0 IT user, kind of hard for me to tell if that's Bob or Sally that's currently logged in. But if I give them all unique username and passwords, which will require a little bit more configuration time from me up front, then I'll be able to monitor my individual users a little bit more easily. But in this particular case, I'm just going to configure one. I'm just going to leave it like that. So now my configuration on the zone director is done. I have enabled 0 IT for that particular wireless LAN. Once again, let's go back to it and verify. If I go to the wireless LAN called wireless LAN-0 IT and I click on edit, we'll see that enable 0 IT activation has now got a check mark next to it. And I've configured a user and a role to be able to authenticate and get the prov.exe file. So let's test it out. Let's see if that will actually work. So I will go ahead and minimize this now. I actually don't need my browser anymore. Don't need the diagram. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on my wireless adapter on this particular laptop. There we go. Actually, before I do that, hold on a second, I'm doing things out of step. I need to download that prov.exe file first. So, how do I do that? Well, bring up my browser. So let's say I'm the client now. I'm John, I'm Sally, I'm the employee, and I've been given a piece of paper or an email from my network admin that says, okay, if you want to connect to our wireless LAN, here's what you need to do. Bring up your browser, connect to the wired Ethernet. And when you're on the wired Ethernet, go to 10.0.0.101/activate. Go to that URL. And then that piece of paper, that email would say, now you're going to need to log in. Here's your credentials. You're going to type in 0 IT user for your username and the exact same thing for your password. Assuming you type it in correctly, and hopefully this is a little bit easier to type in than that big long passphrase you're trying to avoid having them type in. Then we log in, and ta-da, we have success. Now we're getting the prov.exe file. So there's a couple of choices here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save that file. It's pretty quick. Now, if for some reason you had a particular client like a tablet or something that just couldn't use the prov.exe. The operating system didn't use that. Here's something else you could do. Actually, look down at the bottom where it says, if you encounter any problem or would like to manually set up your wireless access, click here. If I click that, it actually shows me what my AES passphrase is. So if I was on a tablet or something like that, I could highlight that and then copy it and then paste that into my wireless LAN adapter. Because remember, the idea here, the objective is to prevent people from having to manually type in this big, long, complicated password. But I'm on a laptop. I have no problem using prov.exe, so I'm not going to have to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down that browser. I'm going to find my downloads where prov.exe was, and there it is. Actually, it looks like I got a couple of them. I should choose the most recent one, which is that. Let's go ahead and move that onto the desktop. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and start it up. I'm just going to double click that. And let's click on Show Detail. Look how fast that was. It's over. It's done. Now if we look at the Show Detail, it shows it's checking the operating information, the Windows 7 platform. Then it's loading the profile. So basically what it's doing is it's configuring my wireless LAN adapter for that particular wireless LAN to recognize that SSID when it sees it, the wireless LAN-0IT. And then it doesn't say it on here, but it's actually downloading that AES passphrase. That's what it did. It assigned that AES passphrase to this wireless LAN, and then it completed. So now, in theory, when I enable my wireless adapter, it should automatically see that SSID because it is being broadcast in Beacon, but it should already have that passphrase pre-configured within it. Let's take a look and see if that's the case. So I'm going to go ahead and enable my wireless LAN adapter now. All right, it's enabled. And let's take a look and see if we can see that wireless LAN. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to it. And look at that, right up at the very top. We've got wireless LAN 0IT and it says connected. Not only did it find that wireless LAN, it automatically connected to it. I never even had to type in the passphrase. And look at this, if I select properties, under the security tab, if I show characters, there it is. So it prov.exe works. 0IT dynamically downloaded that AES complicated passphrase without me having to do anything. So that's how 0IT works. Now I want to show you one other thing. Remember, I said that the first criteria of using 0IT was that we wanted everybody to use the exact same passphrase. So now I'm going to move over to another client device, follow the exact same steps, and we're going to see that that device is using the exact same passphrase as this one. Let's go ahead and take a look at that other client device. Okay, and lastly, here I am on my other Wi-Fi client device. In the topology diagram, this was shown as Wi-Fi client number 1. I'm going to go through the exact same steps. I'm going to go ahead and open up my browser and go to that URL that my network administrator gave me. I'm going to log in with the credentials that they gave me in that email. 0IT user, 0IT user, log in. I'm going to go ahead and save that prov.exe file that will provision my wireless LAN adapter. It looks like it's done. Great, there it is. And now I'm going to go ahead and, I don't have to move the prov.exe to my desktop. I can just leave it here and run it. There it is. Run. Show details. And it's finished. It configured my wireless LAN adapter, so let's go ahead and test it out. Now, last steps. I will go ahead and turn on my wireless LAN adapter. And let's see what it found. Okay, so let's go down here. And yep, sure enough, it looks like it has already connected to something, and there it is. Wireless LAN-0IT, and it says connected. And if I check on the properties, go to the security tab and show characters, it's using the exact same AES passphrase. So that's our proof. That is how 0IT works. So once again, to recap, on the network administrator side, you had to configure some sort of wireless LAN that was using some sort of encryption. Doesn't have to do WPA. You could have done it with WEP if you wanted to, although we don't recommend that you use WEP. but some sort of encryption method that had a passphrase.